Hello. I kind of just getting some stuff together. Hey, Ashley, Tiffany, Fat Lash.
Hey, Mommy.
Hey. Right. Let's see. Saint. Miranda. Let's see. Hope everyone's doing good tonight. I'm just trying to get some information saved and shared. Paste. I am putting the website that I'm using for these stories, and there's plenty more stories if you like to go back and read them on your own, or like to have that time to do that. Because it has about 20 stories, and it's broken down from the coast. Let's see, how do they have it? You have stories from the mountains, the Piedmont, and the coast, and then folk magic. That's how they have it broken down. Which I let a few more people get in before I officially get started. Mm-hmm. I'll show you that. And there's another, can't really see that with that in the way. Also, there's a book, Pirates, Ghosts, and Coastal Lore. Some of this, of course, pertaining more on the coast side of things. But these do match up with some of those stories on the website. Hey, Skip, welcome. But yes, we have Ghost Story Book if you're interested in getting that on your own at some point, or the website that I'm sharing. It's where I have found my stories I'm gonna tell tonight. Hey, Miss Joy, welcome. I did kind of start, just open this up a little early, so different ones can get in. And if you would like to share it out, that'd be awesome. Most of these stories are going to be, he knows about flaming ships. He's captain. Oh, wait, hang on. Wait 1 moment. Yep. Forget about. I'm not going to see that with the. Try this again. Let's see. There we go. This photo was taken, I believe, Goose Creek or area. And when they took the picture, there was nothing there until it developed. So
Mommy? What time is it?
it's 8:51. It's almost 9 o'clock.
Okay.
No, ma'am.
Don't play my play.
You're gonna have to get your car out and sit within it. Okay. Dave says it's bedtime. So go check with him about that.
Good night.
Good night. Night night. Okay. Alright. And she's getting ready to go to bed. Or head that way. Alright, everyone. Get ready for some ghost stories, folklore. I will be reading off of this direction because I have my Chromebook, and that's where I got all the stories on. Okay, here we go. I am using the website North Carolina Ghost, that's with an S at the end.com, and I will share it occasionally. Let's see. Paste. I'll share it. Hold on. Cool. Grey Wolf. I've got one. But alrighty. So if at some point if y'all would like to go to that website and check out other ghost stories, there's plenty of them. Hey RR, welcome. Okay, here we go. Just kind of do a brief introduction, and then we'll start getting into one of three. Hopefully I can get to all three of them. Stories and legends. North Carolina, and I am off of their website, the collection that they have put together. North Carolina Ghosts is a collection of ghost stories, legends, and folklore from the Tar Heel State. They have several. We have stories from the mountains to Piedmont and along the North Carolina coast. These stories and every story presented here has been thoroughly researched. So this website I do appreciate because they have did some research into it. Some of them are a little less true, but one of them is a good story that's just something to tell us. So tonight I am going to pick from the coast. Stories from the North Carolina coast. Alright. The coast is filled with ghost stories and legends along the Outer Banks. Up every inlet through the marsh, the swamps, are stories and hauntings, curse enchantments, and pirates that live beyond the grave. We have flaming ships that sail on the horizon, supernatural hurricane warning system, and a curse from fire and brimstone, preachers on a town that hosts lost pirate treasure. Let the smell of the salty air wash over you and imagine sitting around a campfire on the beach and sharing these stories from the North Carolina coast. I could talk about Blackbeard's ghost. I could talk about the Bath curse. But there's a lot, of course, pertaining to Blackbeard, of course, from Ocracoke to Bath, through the Roanoke areas. But one story I would like to start with. Hey, Avid, welcome. All right. Let's see. The first story is Virginia Dare, the white doe. She was what we would call the first official born in North Carolina when it after the settlements and stuff. So she was our but she was our first what we call first North Carolinian, I guess that's how you want to say it. Alright. On August 27th, 1587, Governor John White sailed from a newly founded English colony on the Roanoke Island to return across the sea for supplies. He left behind the first settlements in the new English colony of Virginia, consisting of 89 men, 17 women, and 11 children. One of these children was his own granddaughter, the first English child to be born in the New World, Virginia Dare. None of these colonists ever seen by English eyes. White had intended to return to Roanoke Colony the next year, but the threat of the Spanish invasion from the Great Armada of 1588 and the politics of Elizabethan court delayed White's return until in 1590. When he arrived, he found the colony abandoned, and the only clue to the fate of the colonists being the word Croatan carved into a tree. Of course, this is where another mystery has come about, guys, involved. It's the lost colony. Like, what happened to this group of settlers? This wasn't the name of the nearby island. The name of the English-speaking Croatan Indian Manteo, and the other Croatan Wanchis had met the 1585 expansion for the colony.
For me?
Yes.
That's you.
That's for me. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Careful. And of course, if you've been to the coast of North Carolina or have seen some of the towns, there is a town called Manteo, and the proper is Manteo and Wanchis. So those are legit towns now on the island of Roanoke. But these two gentlemen, Manteo and Wanchis, these two men left their home in the Outer Banks and journeyed with this group returning to England. She read it. Once upon a time, there was a ghost. Okay, is that what that's supposed to be? Okay. Alright. So we have two Manteo and Wanchis journeyed back to return to England. The men had learned English on their journey. When they returned with the letter, later they were positioned at the colonists' arrival to key habits of the island and the newcomers. White had a separate follow-up on the cue carved into the tree, but he was prevented from making the search of the islands. His ship was threatened by a large oncoming shore, and the captain was eager both to escape that danger and turn south and hunt for the Spanish treasure ships. White was forced to sail on, not knowing what has become of his family and the other settlers. By the time the next attempt at the colonized in 1608 at Jamestown, the fate of the lost colonists had already become stuff of legends. So from 1584 to 1608, White and the governor, John White, and the few people who were trying to get back to where the colony in Manteo, or was located, but they ended up in Jamestown, which is in Virginia. If you're not familiar with that settlement. Of course, again, this is where Lost Colony, its own legend, has its own birth with this. One of these legends that has been told from time again and again on the North Carolina Outer Banks follows the sad, strange fate of the first English child born in the New World soil. Hello, we get together. According to this legend, Juan Cheese was a fearful of the threat posed by the Englishmen plotted the nearby tribe to lead a sneak attack against the colonists. Fleeing for their lives, the colonists were gathered by Manteo to escape and join his tribe. It was Eleanor Dare, the mother of Virginia, who had the foresight to carve their destination into a tree, which she did with her husband lying dead of an arrow at her feet and her child clutched into her arms. Hey, first time. But a good number of the colonists did escape, but they lived peacefully with the Croatan Indians. The young Virginia Dare grew up to be a beautiful maiden. These nature graces. All right. Okay, and this is where Virginia Dare, the white doe, will become among the young men. There. Okay. Forgive me, but some of the names I'm not 100% but a jealous sorcerer named Chino. Chino was the first to offer his hand to the young Virginia Dare, but the maiden refused his advances. Enraged, he used his dark arts to curse the girl and transformed her body into of a snow white deer. The mysterious white doe has often seen on Roanoke, sadly walking through now overgrown and decayed houses built by her people. The story of this beautiful creature soon spread through all the tribes of the islands. Beard. Oskia, that's what I'm thinking what his name is supposed to be. Oskia, Virginia Dares. There was another gentleman that was helping her. Figured that the white doe had shown up about the same time Virginia Dare had gone missing. Reckoned that his rival of the dark arts had taken over and cursed her. So the birth or the legend of Virginia Dare of a white doe. He learned how the magic of mother of pearl lining the oceans would undo. Okay. Then he learned that the magic of an arrowhead from a mother of pearl lining of an oyster shell would undo the curse. Oh, they really. But we bring it back. One Cheese had also heard of the white doe, and not knowing it was the cursed English girl, he vowed to kill the rare creature, of course, in the bid to prove his worthy of a warrior. To this end, he pledged a silver arrow given by the Queen Elizabeth when he had been in England. So now the story made it all the way over to England. Oskia and Wanchese, unknown to another, both tracked the white doe for weeks. One pledged to return her to her true form, the other one swore to bring her to death. And as it happened, they came across the deer at the same hour of the same day. And as the creature was, of course, I mean, even a creature can't even go to a pool in the forest and have a drink of water. No, can't do that, can you? At the same time, they both released their arrow. Hang on. Osaka saw his beloved, Wanchi saw his prey, and at the same time, they both released their arrows. Both of their arrows hit the heart of the deer at the same time. Right? Like, what? Acostia, undoing enchantment, and Wanchi's bringing death. Seeing what he had done, Wanchi's fled the island in fear, but Asaka, hopefully I'm not hurting that name, sadly carried the body of his beloved to the old fort built by the colonists and buried her at its center. But soon, by the pool where Virginia had died, a young spruce pine whose grapes were sweeter. Okay. This is Scopernog, and the grape, and this grape is where the first North Carolina wines were made, of course, you know. And those grapes are by so much of the story legend. Huh. So, that was interesting. So, yeah. All right. So, that was an interesting story. Okay, the next one is the Bath hoof prints. In 1802, there was a young man named James Eliot who lived in the little coastal town of Bath. Eliot was a gambler, a brawler, a drunkard, but most of all, he was a racer. James Eliot was the extreme proud owner of a fiery black stallion. Eliot would race everyone and anywhere, anytime on his strong, swift horse. Many riders challenged James Eliot, not James, Jesse Eliot. Why did I get James? Forgive me. To a race, and Eliot always won. One day, a tall man appeared in the town and approaches Eliot, saying he has heard of his racing fame and of his magnificent black horse. The man said he had a horse that thought was just as strong, just as fast as Eliot's, but he liked to try his horse and his skill against Eliot and his stallion. I'm here listening self-doing. That's cool. Thank you, Tiffany. Okay. The, right. Eliot quickly agreed, and the two men arranged to meet for the race in an hour. And it was on a Sunday. And I know at this point in time and period in Bath, they were very religious. I say, Eliot went home to get his horse. He pulled on his riding boots, had a few drinks to prepare himself, and to set off for the race. His wife, a devout woman, was alarmed at his intent on racing on a Christian Sabbath. Eliot scoffed at her. His wife, fed up with her husband's wicked ways, shouted at him as he rode off, "I hope you're taking to hell this very day. So she was highly pissed, highly mad. Here we go. When Elliot arrived at the course, he saw the waiting for him a midnight black stallion, larger and fierce than any animal Elliot had ever seen. And on top of that angry horse was the stranger, dressed all in black, with the evil fire burning in his eyes. Hang on. That's pretty good. Okay. Alright. Okay. You're going to a course. You're seeing this big angry horse and a gentleman sitting on top, all dressed in black with red eyes. What can we say? Frightened, Elliot paused for a moment, but his greed for racing consumed him and urged his stallion on. There's two quotes to this that supposedly Elliot had mentioned or said right before taking off. One is with this one, this take me a winner or take me to death, or I believe the other one is give me victory or give me death. Elliot's horse charged ahead. The stranger lagged behind. The stranger seemed to take his time, keeping a length behind Elliot and his stallion. As they neared the first finish line, the stranger's horse put on a great burst of speed and drew alongside Elliot. And as soon as it did, Elliot's horse dug its feet into the ground. Elliot was thrown off of his horse's back and into a tree. And of course, it instantly killed him. And as for the stranger, it said that he laughed and rode back home to hell, with Jesse Elliott's soul riding behind him on that fiery black stallion. The hoof prints that Elliott's steed had made when it suddenly stopped suddenly remained imprinted in the ground. They remained there even through the heaviest of rains, the muddy waters. The minister of the local church began preaching around the hoof prints, saying they remained immovable into the ground as the example of the wicked life would lead. These hoof prints were Elliot's horses when it dug its feet into the sand. It can still be seen to this day. It said that nothing will grow in its hoof prints, that no bird will eat seeds scattered in them, and nothing is left in tracks you'll stay there overnight. And this is definitely a of course, this legend is also known as the Devil's Hoof Prints. But let's see. And the spot where the bath footprints are said to be, unfortunately, is on private property and not accessible to the public. But the town does have great exhibit to see, and they'll tell you all about it. And those who know that's where horse batlash is from, is Bath. All right. All right. Hope everyone's finding these interesting. Definitely the Virginia Dare, the doe one. Of course, I've read these way back then. So just reading some of them, and all right. See if I can. We'll try this one more. It's the Flaming Ship of Ocracoke. Of course, Ocracoke is one of the islands along the Outer Banks. We had started on Roanoke Island. I could have done a story on Hatteras Island. I haven't though. This other one is of the other island amongst the Outer Banks is Ocracoke Island, and this is the only island you have to get there by ferry. All right. Let's see. Here we go. It is said that the night of the new moon each September, a strange and ghastly sight can be seen off of Ocracoke Island. There in the waters off the Outer Banks, each year on the night, a phantom ship engulfed in flames floats silently by the island and disappears into the night. Now, how this came to be takes us back in the early days of North Carolina colony to the days of settlers and pirates and the reign of Queen Anne. And of course, Queen Anne was one of Blackbeard's ships. Are you taking over? Okay. Let's see. The late 17, 18, early 18th centuries. There we go. The religious wars that ravaged European caused mass migration of people displaced by the conflicts. It was these wars England and to this day, and what is today of Germany and Switzerland. These countries shared the Protestant faith and complex history of marriage bond. In 1689, when the unpopular James II was forced by Parliament, James's daughter and her husband William of Orange were brought to replace the monarch. Okay, let's get to the. Sadly, having a German king on the throne shifted many of England's alliances. William was happy to use his large army and suddenly found it disposable when fighting back in the Palatine state. Okay. Where's right. These wars produced refugees. I figure. Let's see. William and Mary opened England's doors to thousands of them. England had found itself housing a large population of German-speaking refugees who had fled from the continent. These refugees were no longer ordinary peasants, but well-to-do skilled craftsmen and trade workers. In the reign of Queen Anne, the presence of so unemployed skilled laborers a massive blow to the English economy. Native English tradesmen found facing levels of competition they've never seen before. Okay, so I guess all these people eventually would come over to Overcook. All right. A Swiss baron, Christopher von Grafengrad, offered a solution. When the crown's permission, he would escort a large number of these refugees to a settlement in the Carolina colonies to call New Bern. The plan was to meet with delight and transportation. The colonists soon began. So they were going to New Bern, which is not far from here. So now this is how a lot of our coastal towns and settlements. So this is how North Carolina became. Because Bath was the original first town established. And then and then New Bern, which was our capital for a little while before going into Raleigh. Okay, back to the story. All right. It was on one of these voyages that the captain of the chartered vessel and okay, here's where the flaming ship will start to be bored. This captain of the vessel, of course, was a greedy gentleman. Noticed that his passengers were carrying an unusual amount of, you guessed it, gold, jewels, and other wealth with them. Whatever family treasures had managed to get out of their homelands when they began to take the new world to be taken to the new world. And of course, Eyeing the wealth, the greedy captain started a plan, of course. Just usually how most all stories and stuff begin. Someone had to have a bad idea, right? So, as the ship grew closer to the American coast and to the Outer Banks were in sight, on a moonless night, the captain put the plan into action. He enlisted the help of his equally greedy crew. One night, the crew crept on the decks, and one by one, unfortunately, slit the throat of every passenger on board as they slept. The crew then loaded the passengers' treasure onto the ship's longboat. Yep, because that's going to be a bright idea. To cover up the crime, the men had doused the decks with oil and then set the ship on fire as they dropped the longboat into the ocean. Okay, first, a longboat in the ocean around Ocracoke and that area. Well, that area is part of Graveyard of the Atlantic. So this is not going to be just a smooth sailing waters at times. That right there was not the brightest idea. But anyways, here we go. Of course, to cover the crime, the man had doused the decks in oil and set the ship on fire as they dropped the longboat into the ocean and set out for the pirate refuge at Bath. Of course, Bath, remember, is a town known to a refugee location for pirates. As the men set off in the longboat, the ship they left behind became engulfed in flames. As the captain and his men greedily rowed, excited, rowed the longboat away from the flaming ship, they laughed and bragged to each other about their deed, but the captain looked back towards the flaming ship, and what he saw shocked him. Though the sails were down and the night was still, so the sails were down, the night was still, but the ship was moving. So that sounds exciting, right? You got the ship on fire. One, shouldn't be nobody steering it. But this flaming ship, it was plowing through the waters at high speed, as though the sails were full and being steered by human hands. But they knew that there was not a living soul on board, because they had killed everyone on board. This flaming ship, filled with dead men, was sailing right towards them. Panicked, the crew rowed fiercely to avoid the oncoming ship, but it was no use. The flaming ship rammed the longboat, sinking it, the treasure, and the murderers beneath the waves. The next day, the burning husk of this ship washed ashore on Ocracoke. And each year, this story is reenacted off the coast of Ocracoke. And if you're looking into the waters off of the northeast corner of the island on this night in September, you just might see this flaming ship. So, hopefully, maybe some of these were interesting stories, folklore. Hope everyone found these interesting. And as like I mentioned, there's plenty more. I wish I can read each one, and I'm sorry if trying to get through them, you have to kind of have like a little bit of background behind them, a little bit to understand. But there's plenty more of these stories. Like in New Bern, there's a Weeping Arch. Let's see. It's the Hammock House Stool in Beaufort. Let's see. And of course, you have a legend on Organ Inlet, Organ Inlet, Inlet. Lord, Organ Inlet. There we go. So if you like to go to northcarolynasghost.com, you have plenty more to read. And we do have a local book, Pirates, Ghosts, and Coastal Lore. Of course, this is pertaining only to the coast areas, because it too has about the flaming ship. It has Blackbeard, the Pirate's Light of Pimlico Sound, the Ghost Deer of Roanoke. So, of course, hey, Blair Witch. Let's see. Would y'all like to one more story? Sure. Of course, this is a website. The northcarolynaghost.com is where I'm pulling a lot of this from. Let's see. One more, couple more. I don't be read them all. All right. Let's see here. Let's see what the Gray Man of Hatteras is about. Okay. Alright, let's see what the story's about. It's called The Gray Man of Hatteras. This is a beyond true story. Hurricanes are a fact of life on the Carolina coast. Every few years, one of these tremendous storms is going to blow in from the Atlantic, flooding the coast and doing a whole lot of damage. These storms always moved on, but while the hurricane is blowing, it's certain that homes will be lost and terribly likely that people will also be lost. No point in this state is more vulnerable to the hurricanes than Cape Hatteras. Cape Hatteras Island sits right on the edge of the Gulf Stream, the massive current of warm water that circles through the Atlantic. That's why it gives, for our North Carolina, is one of the power points that gets hit with hurricanes, as like Texas and California, which is kind of, yep, it's that current. This current is powerful enough, through circles to the Atlantic. This current is powerful enough to have shaped the island itself into a point that Cape Hatteras sits on the edge. Let's see. And also in the Cape Hatteras lighthouse itself has been moved for the fact, yes, it where it was originally sitting, it would no longer be there. The Gulf Stream also is a path that hurricanes follow in from the Atlantic, often follow in this, drawing their energy from the warm waters flowing beneath them. With the Gulf Stream pointing right at Cape Hatteras, there's a good chance that any hurricane blowing that will hit the island. But there's something on Hatteras that lets islanders know the storm is coming. And that is the Gray Man of Hatteras is a shadowy feature that walks the beaches of Cape Hatteras as a hurricane is approaching. He appears as the first winds of the storm touch the island. Whenever a hurricane is a threat to the island and its inhabitants. He never speaks, or at least no one's ever heard him speak. No one has even gotten close enough. If anyone approaches the Gray Man, his form slowly fades into the salty air, completely vanishing before curious onlookers can reach where he is standing or was standing. But his presence alone is enough to warn the islanders if he's seen on the beach, it's sure way to know an oncoming storm, and it will be a bad one. He's a warning nature that's still something to be taken seriously. Who is this Gray Man? Some people say he's the ghost of a sailor from the island who died at sea in a hurricane. They say he comes back to warn his fellow islanders of the danger because his soul was terrorized by the wind, watery end, and he cannot bear to go on from this world while he still can prevent others from this same fate. Some others will tell you that he never was a man, that he was a force of nature, that he's not so much as a ghost, as a spirit, but an expression of the force with the wind and waves towards the vulnerable island. So, is he a ghost, a spirit? This because how the nature of the wind and waves. Even today's world, when we watch those storms from space and fly airplanes into the storms to measure the winds, we still give each hurricane a name when it's born. We may name them because it's part of I still think that everything is powerful and willful must be alive. Maybe the gray man is just a hurricane itself talking to us, the voice of a living force born out of the deep ocean. Whoever he was, whatever he is, the gray man of Hatteras still walks the beach under the shadow of the tallest lighthouse whenever a hurricane is heading towards the island. Even as Cape Hatteras has gone from being a lonely little island to a crowded tourist beach, the gray man still warns us of coming storms. So if you ever on Hatteras Island and you turn let's see, they supposed to be turn on the TV. They're talking about a storm. Stroll down to the cloud-covered beach and look towards the wave as a few drops of rain begin to fall. Look for a shadowy feature prowling the beach where the waves are high. And if you see him, pack up and get off the island quick as you can, because the storm's going to be a big one. Hey, Jeffrey. So, that is the story of the Gray Man of Hatteras. And now I have every island has had a story now, I believe. Okay, I have Roanoke, where you have Virginia Dare with the and the White Doe story. That's on Manteo Island. And some will pronounce that Manteo or Manteo, however you want to. Let's see. Guess we're sorry right now. I've been Hey Jeff, that's okay, Jeffrey. I'm just doing this 4-part series of ghost stories. Of course, they will be North Carolina related. I am using a website, so hopefully if y'all go check it out, you can read the other ones. Because there are quite a few more. And Of course, each story might overlap with another story or beginning of another legend. Like with Virginia Dare, it kind of grew what we all know the biggest mystery, the Lost Colony. So kind of one creates another. Bath itself has a lot of other legends. So hopefully y'all can, whenever you get an opportunity to read the others. Let's see. All right. That's not what I need. If copy. Not sure if anyone's interested, but I've dropped the link. If you like to pop up for a little bit, that's fine. If not, might shut it down. But either way, if anybody wants to chat for a little bit, then I gotta figure it, because next Friday, we'll head to the Piedmont area of North Carolina and see what stories we have there. Which I know around our area there are a few other stories. Stop bringing that up. Yep, I am talking to the computer. Let's see. I'll probably do one more, a little short one. Let's see. Let's see. I want the actual legend, not everybody else's point of view. I'm trying to find another one, but I wanted the story, not everyone's point of view story. Okay. Alright. Go away. Okay. The reason I want to do this one is the fact that there was a group of us, me included, tried to find this experience or see if it was legit, all that fun stuff. It's called Pactolus Light, or some call it Stokes Light. Let's see. But the basis of behind of this story, sometime around 1910, Edward Cox rode his horse out past a small community of Pactolus to meet at a train with his fiancée that had taken to meet his fiancée that had taken it from Richmond. And actually that train would have come through our town. So this is why it's kind of really part of this area. Because so he was meeting his fiancée at Pactolus. Of course, this involves trains. So they had met and fallen in love while she was a student at the teacher training school in Greenville that started up the year before and is known as today as East Carolina University. Go Pirates. But unfortunately, her train was much later than expected, and Edwin, a Greenville native, found himself out in thus unfamiliar countryside. And if you're not familiar with the country part of this area, you can get lost. So he soon realized enough it would be dark, and the young woman in question wouldn't even know he had ridden all the way out to Pactolus to meet her train. But Edward's horse had, go figure, drawn the attention of some local ne'er-do-wells. Were walking down the track that night. They saw an opportunity to get a quick ride. In a sense, that version, I guess you'll call carjacking. Hiding near the side of the tracks, they ambushed Edward Cox as he rode past, unfortunately killed him and stuffed his body in the thick undergrowth. But they spooked the horse in the process, and the animal showed back up in Greenville days later, exhausted and riderless. By the time Edward's family had already realized something was amiss and known of the appearance of his horse confirmed their worst fears, but a search of the train turned up nothing. Today they say if you see a light out where the tracks used to be that run through Pattolis, the light of the murdered young man trying to show his true love, that he had indeed been there to meet her train. So, and of course, a group of us did try to go out to where these tracks once were, and to see if we can see this light. But we either we weren't there long enough, or for the fact there was one that was getting a little extra, not paranoid, but they were like, okay, let's not do this. So we did not get there long enough to experience, but we did well. And of course, we didn't want to be those people to pressure someone not to be there. We kind of hanged out long as we could until they really like, okay, we need to go. And we weren't going to be that group of people to, if they're really starting to be uncomfortable, so we end up leaving. So I don't know if we weren't there long enough to experience, but yes. But of course, some people say that there's not a light there. There wasn't ever a light there if it was not paranormal. Or some days people think it's just a prank being played. But yeah. So some will say the experience is real. Some, if unfortunately if you're not there long enough, you might not experience it. But there you have it. So that is tonight's ghost stories with Coastal. Let's see. I do hope everyone enjoyed these or this little short series. Next Friday, I'm gonna go to, of course, the Piedmont area of North Carolina with its few oh wow, got some good ones there too. So we'll pick a few, read these stories. So with that, I think I'll end it. All right. Hope everyone enjoyed this, and look forward to next 3 nights because I'm gonna do, of course, story. There'll be 3 other Fridays to tell ghost stories. And if anyone would like to come up and share stories from their area, of course, it's not just ghost stories, just legends. It can be folklore that's in their area or what they're known for. Of course, here definitely on the coast side of things, you're familiar with Blackbeard. And I know in the mountain areas, if anyone's familiar with the Biltmore, yeah, we'll get there. We'll get to that story, definitely. And I am talking about the Biltmore State, so that's going to be interesting. And let's see. And you'd be surprised, in the Piedmont area, or the middle of the state, there's a Mermaid Point. So we'll talk about that story next Friday. And also, we'll finish out because probably 4 parts. This is first. Probably last one will just be a combination of different folklore. But, and of course, each night anyone's welcome to join me if you like to your own ghost legend that you have. But alrighty, everyone, y'all take care. Hope this was of interest. There are some upcoming events might try to showcase or try to get to, but we'll see about those. But now all have a good night. Thank you for joining me. And I do hope y'all like these. But until the next story time, see you later.